Starfield Shattered Space is great, and if you don't agree, you're clearly a misogynist bigot Nazi. It is what it is. Bethesda makes no mistake. Yes, said Shills.
Is losing the narrative. What used to be in Days Gone, lovably poking fun at bugs, has just turned into disappointment, frustration, anger, and now, most dangerously, apathy. What's happened is that Shattered Space, the DLC for Starfield, is out, but it is not what many people hoped for. What it is a cosmic horror DLC set on a single planet with a far smaller scope that's essentially
Saying this is Cosmic Horror DLC just shows me that you haven't actually played this shit. Nothing here is scary or, even remotely mysterious, honestly, to a degree. It's just lame and dull and boring and poorly handled.
trying to meet one set of criticisms, having handcrafted quests and set pieces, but not doing much at all to change the big picture. It's a traditional Bethesda DLC grafted onto a game that only serves to highlight their weaknesses by sabotaging their strengths. It is no Phantom Liberty, and it was never going to be. And between interviews and data, we can piece together why and work out what's next. Now,
the fact that some people legitimately thought when Shattered Space is going to drop, it's going to be like Phantom Liberty, the true resurrection. Oh my god, have you not been paying any attention? I'm sorry, but that's just sad. Anyone who thought that Shattered Space is going to be a grand old comeback for Bethesda, you need to get yourself checked, my dude.
Now that Shattered Space is out and scores have settled, we can assess its reception. On OpenCritic, the average is 57%, and in Steam, it's currently 30%, but those scores are not the same. OpenCritic is just an average of critic scores, whereas Steam is just a I recommend or do not recommend. A little bit more simple.
And this is why we trust Steam always, pretty much always, while we almost never trust anything else in the news, in the media, in the games industry, because they're liars. They're sad, pathetic liars.
Similar to Rotten Tomatoes. Now, what's great about OpenCritic is they also carry recommendations, and for Starfield Shattered Space, only 28% of critics recommend it, which is pretty much in line with the...
Well, IGN gave it a 7 because if it's a AAA game, it needs to be a 7 minimum because, I mean, there's so much complaint. Oh god, Alana Pierce, you absolute bimbo.
Steam score of 30%. That's brutal, and Bethesda DLCs have been hit or miss. As an example, critics liked Automatron and Nuka World, but didn't necessarily recommend them. Wasteland Workshop was panned, but Far Harbor was pretty much well liked by everybody. And comparing it to Shattered Space, it's clear that Shattered Space was really trying to be Far Harbor, to be high quality, handcrafted, story driven, all of those things that you want from a role-playing game. And looking at Shattered Space, it is clear.
By the way, this just, I think, proves to everyone that Elder Scrolls 6 has no chance. Okay, there's no chance Bethesda handles Elder Scrolls 6 properly, because they tried. They literally tried to make Shattered Space good by handcrafting it and sprinkling in that Bethesda magic. Turns out that Bethesda magic is just, plague spores, but that's a different story. And it completely was destroyed, because Bethesda doesn't even understand what's wrong with the game. It is pathetic. It is really pathetic.
Here the passion has went into it. The new area is real cool, but
no, it's
if
not.
You don't like Starfield, it will do absolutely nothing to change that. And it's clear that people are not seeing $30 of value. Let's assess that, because that's where things really begin to make sense. $30 is, of course, multiple indie games or 3/4 of a mythic weapon skin in Overwatch, something that just shows today's insane market with pricing. Well, there's a point that's clear throughout all of it. This $30 could be multiple indies or a full AAA game that's on a discount. But of course, the thing is, price and value are different things. Price is an objective amount of currency you've got to hand over for something. Value, well, that's in the eye of the beholder. It is subjective. Far Harbor was well received.
If you're gonna put it like that, in that case, then price is also subjective, because some person decides that it's not... Because people decide on stuff without even knowing anything about it. Is it worth the money or not? Which makes price in this situation completely subjective.
costing $24.99, and it now sells for $15. It also launched just 6 months after Fallout 4, and adjusted for US inflation, that $24.99 is actually around $32 today. But to put a twist in things, without Googling, I want you to think of a number. How much did Shivering Isles cost in 2007 when it released 1 year after the launch of Oblivion? Let me know what that number is down below, and now I'll give you the answer. 2,400 Microsoft points. That's $29.99, and if you adjust that to inflation, that's 45 of today's dollars. Hell, Oblivion cost $60 in 2006.
I'm sorry, this is not how we adjust for inflation.
And inflation adjusted, that's 92 of today's dollars, which feels completely insane, but it makes the point. Price is just what we pay. Value is what we perceive. And all of this makes it clear that compared to the past, Shattered Space is objectively not a price shocker. It is priced in line with the rest.
Wait! You're telling me the losers who buy Game Pass because it's a scam, okay? I don't mean to be mean, but if you have Game Pass or PlayStation equivalent of Game Pass, you're getting ripped off, okay? Unless you are playing literally 5 games, 5 different AAA games a year, you know, for more than, I don't know, 20 hours each, you're getting ripped off from the Game Pass, okay? It's a ripoff. It's a ripoff, okay? Listen. Honestly, if you don't believe it's a ripoff, answer this question. Do you honestly think Xbox would give you something because it's good for you, but loses them money? No. Game Pass is designed to rip you off in the long run, okay? That's how it's designed. It's a ripoff. And it's the funniest ripoff ever because Starfield is free on Game Pass day one. But the DLC needs to be paid for? I did not even notice. This is hilariously stupid. Considering the Starfield Shattered Space DLC has a 5%, well, 5 to 7% rate of getting people back to play, which is 5 times less than the industry lowest on average, is insane. No one wants to play this game, okay? Honestly, when I make a video laughing about Shattered Space, it's like, I don't even think anyone cares anymore to a certain degree, because how bad it is.
What it is, though, is a value shocker, because the perception of its value is rooted in our perception of Starfield's value. And unlike the much-loved Phantom Liberty, Shattered Space does little to nothing for this game's foundations. And that is why Fallout and Elder Scrolls fans...
Well, actually, it does completely. Because Bethesda thinks that the foundations of this game are perfect. And that's the biggest problem here. This is why I knew that Shattered Space is not going to work out. Because you know what happens when a company understands, hey, we released a game, but this is not what people want? They change things. They add new systems, they remove old systems, they change existing systems. What did Bethesda do with Starfield? Nothing. Nothing. They added a mini-map, eat button, FOV slider, and a completely unusable vehicle. They didn't do anything else. Which means that Bethesda thinks that Starfield is perfect the way it is. Which is stupid.
Are a little bit scared here. Bethesda seems to be in decline. It feels like they've lost their magic. They have had multiple misses. And with headlines like this one from PC Gamer that says, Bethesda honcho says Starfield is the best game we ever made in a massive bout of amnesia, it sure seems that's a common feeling. But as always, diving into that quote, seeing what an ex-dev has said, and a few other things do reveal a more interesting story. And it's that extra layer of perspective and context that really is what we do here. And to make that sustainable into the future, we've launched Bellular.games. Over there, we publish loading screen to our members daily. Starfield. The PC Gamer headline totally evokes our feelings on loading screens, lifeless proc-gen planets, wooden writing, weak world building, and how Shattered Space fundamentally doesn't do much to fix the basic situation.
God, the writing's so bad again. I couldn't really have played the 50% of the Diablo 4 campaign. Man, oh man, it's just pathetic. All of it seems like you're not even on a mission. You're just kind of doing stuff almost randomly. There's no reason. There's no explanations. It's just stuff's kind of fucking happening? It's so dumb. And Starfield is the same. And this is a problem with modern games so much. The writing is just a lot of yapping, but not a lot of actual dialogue being said. It's just like filler in something that doesn't require filler, which is really strange.
And that all contrasts with Phantom Liberty,
and it makes it bad and annoying. That's why people skip dialogues. Because, I don't know. Imagine, I have a Coca-Cola bottle, by the way, on the desk. Oh, look at that. I have also a lamp. Very cool. Should we keep watching the video? You see what I mean? You want to skip this part, probably, because it makes no sense. Why the hell am I saying any of that? And that's what modern gaming stories feel like on a very massive scale nowadays. They just talk about things that no one cares. They have a lot of useless fluff and, you know, those small tidbits of zoomer humor that pretty much always is exactly the same as in, don't worry, this thing is fine. Explosion. Thing's not fine. Well, it turns out it's not fine. Wow, what ouch. Ow. What? I hit my... Oh, that actually hurt. That's zoomer humor, and it's lame. Why? It's such bad writing, it's insane.
DLC that came along with a massive update that was on top of loads of other updates that basically completely rehabilitated what Cyberpunk 2077 was. Now, there's things that explain this. First, the quote that PC Gamer put in their headline is taken a little bit out of context. Second, though, it's that Bethesda does not think that Starfield needs fixing in the same way that Phantom Liberty tried to fix Cyberpunk.
Yeah. That's obvious.
And to you and me, that may seem completely insane, but...
Oh, by the way, finally, at least someone's talking about this. Because I have been complaining about this for a while now.
Break it down. You see, Cyberpunk 2077 was, as a piece of software, literally broken on last-gen consoles, and even before launch, everyone from management down knew. So it was broken not just in design ways, but also as a piece of software. Now, Starfield is a game that I bounced off, you probably bounced off it, didn't enjoy it, but it did function as a piece of software in a way that Cyberpunk often did not. As much as, yes, Cyberpunk...
I don't know about that, but the bugs for this game were pretty stupid.
Cyberpunk had glimmers of a vastly superior game within it. Comments, though, from ex-developers give us insight, right? So, Starfield is a standard Bethesda game with standard Bethesda technology, but as a design document, it doesn't really...
Actually, it's below standard in technology terms because there's not a single person that has any shred of being good at their job left. Talentless hacks, effectively. And, well, even if you're copying something, if all your talent is gone, you're probably going to fail at copying something.
Fit the standard Bethesda game design, format, and the tech that they were able to build it with. It's very different from the past. It's discontiguous, and according to Just Perky Games, who worked on Fallout 3, Skyrim, 76, and Starfield, who has since quit and went indie, they grew from around 65 to 115 people during Fallout 3 and Skyrim to 500 by Starfield. He didn't like that. He didn't like making games in that environment, so he quit and he's went indie. And according to him, Starfield was made across 4 studios with a massive team, of course, including the outsourcing as well. And that is what makes it all make sense to me. Bethesda's games have always had...
Probably 200 of those 500 people are some kind of diversity and equity and DEI shills or hires, and they're useless.
They're bugs, they're jank, they're...
Remember, if you ever achieve anything through affirmative action, probably you're a leech on society. It is what it is.
Their wooden dialogue and their weak main stories. What sold Bethesda games was that way you could get lost in a handcrafted world. That would happen in the other games. The problem is Starfield was scoped as a design beyond their technical safe spot and in a way that was disjointed. That means that it highlighted their weaknesses and smothered their strengths. When everything's chained together via space and fast travel, you don't get the natural journeying from one location to another in a contiguous world that allows you to just stumble upon things. No, with Starfield, the software is very obvious. It feels so much like a game and so little like a world. You have that, and then you have all of the weaknesses that come with a large team. Because the larger your team goes, the more diluted your talent pool is, and the harder it is to hit a consistently high quality bar. And in fact, this September, Todd Howard called the games they make, quote, irresponsibly large. Well, Todd, I've got to say, for
Dude, that was such a mega cope from Todd Howard. It's like, oh man, we're so good at making games that we act somehow just make shit games. What a loser. What a 5-2 loser, okay?
Starfield, I absolutely agree. But that's not all that Todd said, and we also have got some player data to inform us just how these games are played and why Bethesda are making the decisions they're making. Over on PC, the Starfield player count's rough. I mean, right now, after the DLC, it's hovering around 6,000 concurrents. At the same time,
oh god, I love this graph. Again, no one, people, people rarely know how to read graphs, but when you take into a context what the graph shows, again, this is ridiculous, okay? This was when Starfield launched. It literally peaked at 23k players. Not even 23k players. It was like 22 point something k. But let's say 23 because why not, right? This was Starfield's all-time peak when it launched. So, not even 10%, roughly 7% of the people who played it at launch decided to come back and play it, which is horrendous. If you have an expansion, typically something like 25% of people or more typically decide to come back for a game. For Starfield, less than 7%. Effectively no one cared about Shattered Space. Which is sad because I milked Starfield's disaster so hard and made a decent amount of money, subscribers, and all of that good stuff from it. But now Shattered Space is proving to be so goddamn bad, it's literally the same as She-Hulk, okay? People who made fun of Rings of Power experienced explosive growth in their channels. People who talked about She-Hulk experienced nothing because it was so bad no one cared. And I sadly think Shattered Space is the She-Hulk, not the Rings of Power. Oh, sad.
time, literally the same time, Skyrim Special
But
Edition had
but I do love talking negatively about Starfield so much. I am willing to take the hit.
14k concurrents. It's probably a little higher right now if you're watching this during peak hours, but that's basically the picture. And through 2024, Skyrim's monthly averages were 18 to 20k. Starfield's were 5 to 9k.
Yeah.
What we see is that while the Starfield numbers are low, they are surprisingly stable. And through that stability, we do see that for some people, the formula actually...
The stability doesn't matter. Those are just those are just super Bethesda fanboys. And why those Bethesda fanboys don't matter at the end is because these Bethesda fanboys now need to be stretched across Fallout 76, Skyrim, 15 different other iterations of Skyrim, Morrowind, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, and so many places, okay? And now you add to the pool of that disaster Starfield, okay? And it gets really competitive. Bethesda's games are effectively not really dying, but the super Bethesda mega fanboys are just slowly reducing. People are waking up to Bethesda's slop and saying no more, and they don't want to experience this tragedy no longer. And, well, that's why soon Bethesda's games are not going to have enough players. Well, you know, having honestly 5 to 8k people playing a game average on Steam, that's pretty good. That's really good for a small indie development studio or, you know, something that's not AAA. But for Bethesda, that is horrible. In context, considering it's Bethesda, that is horrible.
It does work, but that compared to the rest of Bethesda's output, it is still rather niche. I mean, removing the television show related spikes, Fallout 4 hovers around 15k and 76 performs similar to Starfield. So Starfield
76 is still experiencing the update hype. It's been pretty long, but yeah, it's still kind of experiencing that. Also, 76 most likely has a botting issue. That would be my guess. Because you can sell things in 76.
is a sticky game. It's just far more niche, and I think what really highlights that is that Shattered Space launched to...
Actually, let me check that. I have never tried. Maybe I'm wrong. Fallout 76. Buy item. Up. Buy items online. Buy Fallout caps cheap. Let's see. I don't want to click on any of this because this site looks dodgy AF. Sponsored site also, jeez. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff being sold. Hydrogen grenades, 100 for €4. Fragmentation grenade, 100 for 375. Molotovs, all of the things. Wow. Okay. Yeah, Fallout 76 is probably bought it. Gold. 10 pieces cost 37 cents. That's kind of a lot, honestly. Wow. But yeah, this is, yeah, Fallout 76 probably has a botting issue. Not that it actually has 9K or 10K players playing it. Half of them are most likely bots.
Around a 20K peak, but then within a week, it just returned to baseline. And that tells us another slice of Bethesda pie is not doing much to help. Now, there is a 2023 Newzoo analysis that makes console look a bit more healthy, and just this June, Todd Howard said that the average
Anyone who's trying to tell me that console is healthy is clearly lying.
Playtime is over 40 hours, and that they've had 14 million players in Starfield.
This is so bull.
That may seem completely crazy, and they've certainly not had 14 million sales, but just think about name recognition. That is going to get them a lot of sales, and of course, Game Pass. Because yes, while PlayStation...
I don't think Starfield's... There's no way Starfield was even profitable, okay? Shut up. Starfield was not profitable. There's no way. Starfield was day one on Game Pass. And day one, you could buy it on Steam if you had Game Pass for free. So, Starfield, I would be shocked if Starfield sold more than 3 million copies. I honestly don't think Starfield sold more than 3 million copies. 2, honestly, maybe even a stretch. Maybe even a stretch. But 3 million copies? No way. No way. No way.
Has utterly dominated this console generation. Game Pass has a remarkably high attachment rate on consoles. Starfield was the big name, and for so many people, to count as a player, all they would have to do is download it, boot it up, and play it. And as for the 40-hour playtime, that makes sense to me. Just look at the Steam chart. It's not a big chart, but it is pretty long. You know, sometimes in YouTube, you might have a video that will not perform that well. It might have a low click-through rate. It may get a low number of views, but it could have an amazing watch time. Turns out that there are people who really like that video, but it just doesn't appeal to that many people. And because it doesn't appeal to that many people, the people...
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you a secret, okay? Watch time actually matters less than click-through ratio, and that's it, okay? You can have a video that has a 70% watch time, and it's gonna do worse than a video that has 2 times more click rate than it in general. Because YouTube doesn't actually care that you watch the full video. YouTube's algorithm is based on how many things are actually clicked on, not actually how long people watch it. A video being watched 50, 40, 70, 80, 100% through is just a bonus stat that YouTube doesn't really care about any longer.
People who stick around.
And it's been like that forever. So, I mean, clickbait is the way to go. 100%. Because YouTube has come to the most simple conclusion of all time. AKA, hey, it's better to give people like 5 videos to add to the playlist queue than one video that they maybe watch 50% through. Because in the end, they're gonna still stay on YouTube longer if they just have more videos to go through. Statistically, very more likely. And YouTube cares about having people on. So, clickbait. Very cool.
Will watch or play longer. That makes sense to me. And what makes Bethesda's line of reasoning more clear is taking a look at the interview that spawned PC Gamer's headline, because it clues us in on, at least externally, how they're framing this. Starfield is developing its own unique fan base, it's big and it's growing. Bethesda used
It's not big, it's not growing, and it's shrinking. There you go, fixed it for you.
to feel like the studio of Elder Scrolls. Then it was the studio you'd associate with Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Now it's Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and Starfield. Bethesda Game Studios' Big Three.
Whoever wrote this has no ground in reality.
Now, to many of us, we read that and think, what the hell? But my understanding is kind of simple. There is going to be no Phantom Liberty, no version 2, no thing that fundamentally changes the story here.
Yeah, because Starfield is perfect the way it is. If you can't see it, you're just a misogynist.
They think they can just take the snowball they've got and continue to roll it down the hill. Going by the rest of his interview, at least their public framing is that that worked really well with Fallout 76, and I have heard loads of accounts of people who kind of love Fallout 76.
I have not. I know there are people who like Fallout 76, but I also know that those people are prohibited to take IQ tests because their countries of origin don't want to lower it drastically. Okay? It just is the way it is, okay? What a time to be a time, effectively. Anyway, Elder Scrolls 6 is gonna be a disaster. That was Bellier. 10 out of 10. Bye.